Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We gotta add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. They always have been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekly morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's video, we have a very important topic to be discussing, and that would be the fact that Bitcoin hit all-time high yesterday. Is Bitcoin about to smash through its record of $73,800 and rally all the way up towards $100,000? I'm very excited to be here today because there is so much to talk about with what is coming up next on Bitcoin, and it is my dream to watch you succeed with your finances. I want you to be able to build immense wealth in the cryptocurrency market, and today we're going to be doing some analysis to see why Bitcoin was able to run here and when and where and why Bitcoin is going to rally above $73,800. This is an incredibly exciting time for Bitcoin, so thank you very much for tuning in. If you are new here, make sure to hit that like button on your way in if you think you're going to enjoy the stream. If you do enjoy the stream, make sure to do that. Want to give some quick shout outs, and we're going to dive right on into it, guys. We got a lot to cover. Grand Roofing Incorporated in chat said, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you as well, Grand Roofing Incorporated. Glad you could be here today. Philly Skills 1428 in chat said, good morning, my guy Jeb and Crypto Fam. Joe Bollier's in chat. Cosmin B. Kevin Herbert's in chat. Defla called out. And Christopher Ryans said, let's go. Thank you all for being here. We've got a lot to cover. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. Bitcoin is currently trading at $71,971. It is up 8% in the last 7 days. Over the last 24 hours, we have largely traded sideways, but we have, generally speaking, gone into a massive rally as of late. Looking on the monthly chart here with the logarithmic scale on, we can see that Bitcoin has managed to build an enormous rally in just the last few weeks that has completely erased almost 8 months of corrective movement, which is very encouraging because it was starting to look like Bitcoin was going to trade sideways there forever. We knew it wouldn't, of course, but it was definitely getting a little bit old. But as you can see, Bitcoin has begun erasing that specific corrective movement. And the best way to visualize that is over here on one of our other charts. I believe I have it up on the BLX coin, Brave New Index. Brave New Coin Liquid Index for Bitcoin here. These two lines pretty much define exactly what's happening on Bitcoin right now. We had a large corrective movement that was accelerating bearish. We were correcting, trading sideways, and the bears were accelerating. Right here in September was about the worst of it. It seemed like Bitcoin was going to end up capitulating through $50,000 and going even lower. Instead of doing that, Bitcoin decided that we've had enough corrective movement, and not exactly a shock to everyone because we predicted that Bitcoin would rally up here to about $65,000, which it then did. But in a shock to most, we saw Bitcoin go through a large rally here, and we would see Bitcoin gain about $13,000 to $14,000 in 3 short weeks. This was one of the largest rallies that Bitcoin has seen in a long time, and it also set a new higher high. As you can see here, we had actually defined a high higher than the previous one. It was only a little bit higher because there wasn't much confidence. The bulls had not established a huge lead yet. But then we had a much higher low that formed at a double bottom here in early October. And with that significantly higher low, that was, as you can see, roughly $6,000 higher than the previous, that gave the bulls confidence to start dumping money into the market. And that's what we've seen happen ever since Bitcoin. That's what we've seen happen ever since that bottom. We have seen a huge amount of inflows coming into the crypto ETF, specifically Bitcoin, ever since that date. You can see there was not very much inflow coming into the Bitcoin ETFs here before October the 10th, which on the chart corresponds to this day right here. But after we set that double bottom at $60,000 and held $60,000 as a confident bottom, remember, October the 10th and forward, we started seeing enormous inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs because Wall Street realized that the bottom was in. And so we have seen over $250 million inflows and even $500 million inflows on several days ever since. Ever since that day, we have seen hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of inflows. And on the 28th, which was Monday, we saw $827 million worth of Bitcoin. If you remember to yesterday's stream, literally I said this yesterday, what we were going to see were these little inflows of 200, 300, 400, 500 million look tiny in comparison to what's coming. Within the next month, you're going to see at least one, probably multiple billion-dollar inflow days. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see a $2 billion inflow day coming into the Bitcoin ETFs because Wall Street is that excited about getting into Bitcoin. This is the very first bull market, very first run that Wall Street is going to be able to get in for the entire thing. The Bitcoin ETF launched here on January the 10th, 2024. Bitcoin at that time had already rallied $23,000. It had already nearly doubled in price to get to that specific level. Following the launch of the ETF, Bitcoin crashed for 14 days. And from there, yes, it completed the second half of the rally, another 84% in the next 50 days. Wall Street did get in on this through the various Bitcoin ETF products, namely Fidelity's, Grayscale's, and BlackRock's. But they only got in on half of it. And then we traded sideways for 8 months, and only the ones that actually understood what Bitcoin was stayed. Well, now Bitcoin is beginning a run-up, and everyone that purchased back here is in a profit. Every single last one of them is in a profit on those initial purchases of Bitcoin. Because the high that we set the day that the ETF launched was the low that we set in this corrective movement. The absolute best that Bitcoin could achieve before the Bitcoin ETF's launch is the absolute worst that Bitcoin has experienced since we fought through that initial correction after the ETF. We have established baseline support for the market at $50,000, which puts $100,000 very much in range. Make no mistake, the United States stock market is worth nearly $40 trillion. All stock markets around the world combined are worth north of $120 trillion. If you add in real estate and all kinds of commodities, you're looking at a quadrillion dollar market. That is 1,000 trillion, and a trillion is 1,000 billion. We're looking at 1 million billion. That's the size of those markets. 1,000 times a billion is a trillion. 1,000 times a trillion is a quadrillion. 1 quadrillion, therefore, 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million billion. That is how large the global market is when you take into account stocks, commodities, and property, real estate. Bitcoin right now is worth roughly 1.25 trillion. If we go to BTC 1 exclamation point, sorry, BTC 1, right? BTC, if you go on over to total, total, that's what we're looking for. Total market cap. You can see we're sitting at 2.385 trillion. The entire cryptocurrency market is worth less than $2.5 trillion. Calculating the dominance of Bitcoin, we can kind of extrapolate that Bitcoin's worth about $1.4 trillion right now. And you can see that over on CoinMarketCap very clearly, about $1.425 trillion. For Bitcoin to go to 100K, Bitcoin only needs to add about $500 billion. We're already worth $2.5 trillion. That is a drop in the bucket compared to what Bitcoin has the ability to bring in on a moment's notice. $100,000 is much closer than you think it is. And so back to our original conversation here, Wall Street realizes that that's coming, which is why Bitcoin beginning this run up, which at this point in time looks ridiculously parabolic, is a very good thing. It gives us an inordinate amount of confidence. I almost said coffee. An inordinate amount of confidence that a break above all-time high is on the horizon. And even if it doesn't happen this time, even if we do reject and we stay up here for a month and we flag out, we're most likely going to break it eventually. And if we look back to what happened in 2020, we will see that what happens next will likely shock us. Bitcoin had a run-up that lasted several years to get back to $20,000, which was the all-time high set at the end of 2017. And the run-up towards $20,000 was the second largest bull market in the history of the entire cryptocurrency industry. We added almost $400 billion of value, $15,600 movement, one of the largest rallies that Bitcoin had ever witnessed, the second largest. Today, a $16,000 rally barely makes front page news. This was a $14,000 rally. Yeah, seriously, that little rally in there is about the same size as this rally up to $20,000. And at the time, everyone thought, oh, $20,000, it's not going to be broken. Maybe we'll go 22. Hey, maybe we'll go 25. Hey, maybe we'll get crazy and say we're going to go to 26,000. You know, the people that were just absolutely out of their mind, they said 30. Bitcoin didn't go to 22, didn't go to 24. It didn't do any of that. It went to 40, then 50, then 60, then 65, and now our all-time high is at $73,000, which was unimaginable back when 20K was an all-time high. I remember when I got into the cryptocurrency space, Bitcoin was trading at $2,900, which becomes a more humorous statement every year that goes by. But it was trading at $2,900 when I got into Bitcoin. It is more than 20x'd since then. And people, once again, think that Bitcoin cannot go through a massive rally because it's just gotten too big. There's no way, Jeb, that it could go and double again. It could. There's no way, Jeb, that it could go to 100,000. It will. You're going to be surprised when Bitcoin breaks all-time high. It's going to shock you when we actually do it. I'm not talking about if we go a couple $1,000s above and we and haw. I'm talking about when the bulls actually start to run, it's going to knock your ever-loving socks off. So here's what we're going to do after that little bit of exposition. I'm going to show you the technicals, which will be brief because we looked at them yesterday. And from there, we're going to talk about what we need to do to prepare for this. I want to see a 1 in chat for every single last one of you that wants to make the most of this coming rally. A 1. In chat. There's 189 of you watching. I would assume 189 of you want to make the most of this coming rally. If you want to make the most of this coming rally, drop a 1 in chat. I'm going to show you exactly what to do just that. Let's get started. Bitcoin's fundamentals are beautiful. Bitcoin's technicals are beautiful. And I'm going to show you them right now. When you look at Bitcoin's MACD, we have a very strong bullish cross that happened in July of 2023. We also have bullish MACD divergence happening right now on the monthly chart MACD. That's the first time that's happened in several months and is indicative of a rally, and we've seen that in the past. We also have a bounce off of the 14 interval moving average here on the monthly chart for the Bitcoin RSI, and we are nowhere near all-time highs. Every time in history that Bitcoin has hit an all-time high, we have seen RSI go to at least 90. At least 90. And in the run-up to the all-time high, we've set a little miniature all-time high here before 90. And people at those times, which I will go ahead and draw in blue here, people at those times thought that those points in the market were the end of the bull market. People thought Bitcoin was going to hit 20K and stop. People thought that Bitcoin was going to hit 13K and stop. People thought that we were going to hit, yes, $30 and stop. People thought that. That's what people thought. Notice every time that Bitcoin hit this fake little all-time high, quote-unquote all-time high on RSI, there was rejection. Why? Because Bitcoin was working on breaking through the all-time high. The all-time high is the strongest level of resistance there is, so it's not surprising that right around the time that we set these little miniature highs on RSI that you can see here, right there, and there in the last 3 cycles, we were also somewhat within the range, both time-wise and price-wise, of breaking the all-time high. Not quite there, but we were close, right? That was roughly what we were experiencing when we saw those little miniature highs. And what we just saw was the same thing, this little miniature high before the actual breakout. And where does that line up in temporal relation to the rest of the market? It lines up in temporal relation exactly to trying to break through the all-time high. Bitcoin did set a new all-time high, but not by much. Bitcoin's previous all-time high in the last bull market was nearly $69,000. We set an all-time high of 73, so we're still caught in the range, and when you account for inflation, we're actually lower, both dollar inflation and Bitcoin inflation, because there has been Bitcoin mined. You're actually looking at a lower high. If you look at coin market cap over here on Bitcoin, what you're going to see is that while it looked like an all-time high on price, because it was roughly a double top when it came to market capitalization, which is where the actual resistance was. People think, oh, we set a new all-time high. Well, we also pretty much went to a very similar level on market capitalization. And again, when you also factor in for the dollar inflation, it's about the same. It's about the same. And so what we're witnessing right now is Bitcoin working on breaking through that resistance. Even though it looks like we've already broken through it, even though 73 is technically higher than 68, it is. There's been dollar inflation and there's been Bitcoin inflation. Not much on the Bitcoin side, but there's been some. So Bitcoin's roughly at the similar high that we had set in 2021. Naturally, it is significantly higher than that, but it's roughly the same level. All right, and so that's where we need to figure out what's going to happen next. Well, what's going to happen next, going back to the RSI, is that we still are looking for this super high RSI figure. We're still looking for this last run. Notice these last runs happen quick, guys. We're talking about 6, 8, 10 months. It hasn't happened yet. In all these cases, we came back and back tested, and then we bounced and rallied. That's what's happening right now. Bitcoin's going to go and set this huge high where we're 80, 85, 90 on RSI, and that's probably going to bring us up to well over $100,000, but it has not started yet. The technicals paint it clear as day. On the shorter term time frames, we did actually come very close to hitting all-time high yesterday. We hit $73,600. All-time high is $73,800. In the grand scheme of things, that may as well be a double top. There is a chance that Bitcoin flat out crashes here, rejects, and doesn't break through. And I'm not saying it's going to break through all-time high today. I'm not saying it's going to happen even this week. What I am saying is that it's going to happen soon. I think in the next month, most likely, Bitcoin is going to break through $73,800. But Bitcoin also may need to trade sideways and flag out up here for a while. We may need to prove to ourselves, metaphorically, not even metaphorically, literally, we may need to prove to ourselves that Bitcoin can stay up here. It can hang at $70,000 and above and then break through. We saw that happen every time that we broke an all-time high in history. Bitcoin needed to stay up there and hang for a little while. And after it did, it ended up breaking with fervor, as you saw right here, breaking through 20K. And it also happened back here when we were breaking through the all-time high in the 2016-17 bull market. Bitcoin needed to sit here and hang here around $1,100, $1,200 for a while before we could smash the all-time high and go on a meteoric rally. So we have not yet seen that sideways trading, and so that's going to need to occur. But after it does, then Bitcoin is very, very, very much going to have a punch through of the all-time high, and we're going to go into a big rally. So that's kind of the exposition of where we are right now. I want to spend the majority of this stream talking about what we need to do on it, because I want to know that you guys are ready. I want right now to make sure that you are prepared for what's coming, because I don't want you to miss out on this. I look back and I'm like, man, I've acquired Bitcoins, plural. I'm very happy that I've done that. I love the Bitcoin positions that I have, but man, I wish that I could go back and make better decisions. I wish that I could go back and acquire more. I wish that I could go back and be wiser with my finances. And there is a level of regret there that, thank God, doesn't have to be regret, because I can use it as a lesson. But otherwise, it would be regret of saying, man, I could have done better. And I want to mitigate as much of that as I possibly can in my own life. And I want to help you guys mitigate that as much as possible in your own life too. So we're going to read chat, and we're going to continue moving right along here. Brett Reichart is in chat, said, good morning, folks. Good morning to you as well. Mario De Leon is in chat. Good to see you. Ava Angel said, you win, mods. I'm gone. Congrats. Where'd you go? I don't know what happened. Ava, if you're still here, I don't see anybody deleted a comment. YouTube is dumb. I love YouTube. I've been on YouTube for, goodness gracious, almost 15 years now, but they just delete comments, and I don't know why. It's not the mods doing that. The mods are not deleting your comments, Ava Angel. That would be YouTube. So just keep typing, and eventually we'll see it. I don't know what's going on there. All right. Let's also see. Let's read a little bit of chat. The lower the better. I agree. I would like for Bitcoin to go through correction, and I'm totally fine with that. But there is a bull market coming, and I also want us to be prepared for that. How is your wife? Well, we've got some leads. She's going to have an appointment tomorrow afternoon, and hopefully we're going to get a procedure done outpatient that will help her to feel better. Now, we don't know if we're totally certain that it's going to, but we think it will. So we got to get that scheduled. Insurance got to do pre-auth because it's outpatient. And then she'll get that done, and she'll be out of commission probably for a few weeks recovering from it. So, that'll be its own process. But I do think I am quite confident after doing, I don't know, 50 hours of research into the neurology literature of what she has. Guys, I've been reading neurology books and studies and papers and the ICHG3 and all kinds of neurology work, so I can actually talk with a neurologist with their own, research and data and have an informed conversation with them. It's really funny. We've been in the hospital, and I keep getting people asking me, "Are you in the medical field?" I'm like, "No, I've just done a bunch of research." And they're like, "Oh, well, you should do it." I had one nurse say, "That's your calling. You missed your calling. You need to go into nursing." And I was like, "Well, thank you. That I do like science, so I suppose I see what you're saying there. Could you give us your analysis of Total 3, please, bro? Coaching the chaos." Sure. We'll do that, and then we'll jump right back on into our analysis here. I assume the reason you're asking is because you want to know when the altcoin season's coming. And the Total 3 market capitalization calculates altcoin market capitalization excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Total 3 is a good way of analyzing the size of the general altcoin space. You can use Total 2 and include Ethereum in that, but honestly, Ethereum's getting to the point of where it's not even really an altcoin. It's kind of just its own thing. Altcoin means alternative coin. Alternative to what? Alternative technically to Bitcoin. So technically Ethereum is an altcoin, but it's really starting to be in a league of its own. It really just doesn't fit and jive very well with the altcoin. So Total 3 is helpful for calculating the market capitalization of everything except Bitcoin and Ethereum. These are all of the cryptocurrencies that do not have ETFs. They are not packaged into ETFs also. That, at least at this point in time, that's what this chart represents, because only Bitcoin and Ethereum have ETFs. Now, now, the thing that I'm excited about here is that they're undervalued. Quite so. Very much so. This chart was sitting at $1.1 trillion. The alt space, not including Bitcoin and Ethereum, at one point was valued at $1.124 trillion. It's now valued at $633 billion. Major corrective movement took place during the last bull market, and we have not anywhere near recaptured those all-time highs. People are wondering when the altcoin season is. I will tell you right now when the altcoin season is, after Bitcoin has its day. Guys, the king goes first. The king eats first. Which lion eats first? The king, right? The leader of the pride. He eats first. That's what Bitcoin's doing. He's eating first. If you look at this chart and compare it to the straight Bitcoin chart, you can see the difference. You can see the difference between Total 3, and let me do that again. You can see the difference between Total 3 and Bitcoin. The king eats first. There's food. There's fresh meat coming into Bitcoin, and the king eats first. Bitcoin eats first, and it will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. We are at the very precipice of an enormous rally. We could see Bitcoin rally $50,000 from here in the next several months. Not saying for sure it will, but it's well within the realm of possibility. We could easily add $1 trillion. Guys, we're adding almost $1 billion in inflows yesterday. I mean, $827 million yesterday. Not through the entire Bitcoin space, through just the ETFs. That is almost 1% of the entirety of $1 trillion in a day. And those numbers are going to get a lot higher. You're going to see $1 billion in a day. You're going to see $2 billion in a day. You're going to see $3 billion in a day. Unless, like Dre and 12-1 just said, unless you see a fat recession come in, which I don't think is going to happen in the next couple of years. But if it happens, yes, that's a consideration. But that's what we're going to see happen. Huge amounts of inflows. You look over here, the altcoin season index is 26. We're very much in Bitcoin season. Why? Because we've been trading sideways for 8 months. When you trade sideways, you reset the bulls. The bulls back out, go back in, but they choose carefully where they go in. They start in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the least risky asset. I just spent an hour and a half working on course material for the Financial Sovereignty Academy. And one of the things I talked about, in fact, I'll just see if I can quote myself over here for something that might be relevant. Risk mitigation is far more important than reward maximization, and wealthy people understand this. I'm going to read directly from some of the literature I was writing for the FinSov Way. In wealth building, following the financial sovereignty way, we need to carefully avoid unnecessary risk. Note, I didn't say we need to avoid risk or we'd never invest, but it's critical that we avoid unnecessary risk. In investment, we do this by doing thorough research into our investments and their value proposition, investigating the executive team, protecting the passwords to our brokerage accounts, using sophisticated anti-theft techniques, stop losses in trading. In personal finance, we do this by We do this by using a budget to prevent overspending. We save an emergency fund in the event that all goes south. We plan, and we plan again to ensure that when things do go wrong, because they will, that we're ready. This is all risk mitigation. You can, by doing an exceptional job mitigating unnecessary risk and doing a terrible job of maximizing rewards in the market, still become a multimillionaire, because the difference between 8 and 12% returns will not change whether you're wealthy, only how wealthy you are if you put the right principles in place. Make no mistake, reward maximization is important, but it's absolutely secondary to unnecessary risk mitigation. In conclusion to that first point, I'm going to teach you how to properly mitigate unnecessary risk and maximize returns, but you can do a phenomenal job mitigating risk and a terrible job maximizing reward, and you will still build a handsome level of wealth. If you do a terrible job minimizing risk and a phenomenal job maximizing returns, you will lose it all eventually. Wealth gained by vanity shall be diminished, not might be diminished, shall be diminished, since the finality there, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. Proverbs 13:11. That's a direct quote from some of the writing I was just doing this morning for the Fensov Way, talking about paying off your house early, but it applies here too. People are most interested in getting a handsome return, not the best return, but a handsome return with low risk. And that's why when you see a new rally start, generally, the wealthy people buy Bitcoin first. It's the little people that don't have much money that are scrounging around saying, which altcoin can I buy? Because they're looking for 100x. That is not how you build a considerable amount of wealth. You build a considerable amount of wealth by mitigating unnecessary risk, and then after you've done that, reaching for maximum reward. And so the way that rich people do this is they buy, in the case of cryptocurrency investment, is they buy Bitcoin first when they sense a new rally's coming, and then after they've done that, then they buy altcoins. That's why the altcoin season always comes after the Bitcoin season, because the drivers of this market are disproportionately very wealthy, and they understand what I just said about risk mitigation. They understand that risk mitigation is incredibly important, and so they buy Bitcoin first, then the altcoins, which is why, to the original point, Total 3 looks like this. It makes total sense. I'm sorry, I wasn't even trying. I'm a poet and didn't even know it. That's the reason that it looks like this. Rich people realize mitigating risk and still getting a fancy return is more important than getting a gigantic return with a bunch of risk. You can debate with me all day, but the data doesn't lie. People are buying Bitcoin first because they understand that, and they understand it's wise. And wise people disproportionately make more money than foolish people, because wisdom generates fruit. Okay? Cool. So what does that mean for Total 3? It means that after Bitcoin has had its day, then that will lower the proportional risk of investing in altcoins, which will then allow people, especially wealthy investors that just made money in the Bitcoin space, to cycle it into the altcoin space. Altcoin season comes after Bitcoin season. Bitcoin's going to have the limelight for the next several months. You can acquire altcoins while they're cheap, and I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but you're going to have to wait a little while to see them run. You're not going to see a gigantic run on many altcoins. You might see a gigantic run on a few of the big ones. You might see a massive run on something like Solana, just because Solana is in such a kind of a league of its own as well. You might see a big run on Ethereum, but even Ethereum's taking backseat to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at all-time high. Ethereum's at 50% of all-time high. Alt season's coming. It's going to be next summer and next fall. That's when it's really going to heat up. That is the very best that I can tell you after doing analysis on this market nearly every single day for the last 7+ years. Alt season will be coming in 4 to 6 months. Bitcoin is going to be hogging the limelight for the next 4 to 6 months. But back to our original topic of what do we do? And great question, by the way. Who asked that again? Who asked me to look at Total 3? That was... Oh, who was it? No, I can't find him. Who was it? You can tell me in chat. I'm sorry. I can't find the comment anymore. But whoever asked me to look at Total 3, that was a great question. It was a great. I can't find it in the chat. I don't know if the chat's gone. You know, YouTube doesn't do what it's supposed to do with chat sometimes. Anyway, great question, whoever it was. So shout out to you. You can tell me in chat who it was, and I'll give you a big shout out. Thank you so much. But let's talk a little bit about what we should be doing in preparation for this big rally. As we talked about, wealthy people, wise people, they do certain things. You know, there's this lie. There's this absolute... what's the word? Evil myth in our culture that rich people are greedy scum. They're just bottom feeders, and they just suck the life out of people. And make no mistake, there are people like that. Banking executives. There are people like that. Right? There are people like that. Credit card company. There are people like that. There are debt collectors. Right? There are people like that. Don't get me wrong. The vast majority of wealthy people got that way because they followed, whether they know them or not, they followed at least 4 or 5 of the laws of money. They may be off on one of them. They may even be a little bit off on 2 of them. But I can't think of a single wealthy person that didn't follow at least 4 of the laws of money. What are the laws of money? Choose financial sovereignty, live on less than you make, have a written plan for your money, stay out of debt, save and invest, and be radically generous. Unless someone follows at least. Coaching the Chaos asked that question. Big shout out to you, man. Great question. I also love your name. It's a great name. Fits very well into our teaching. Unless they followed at least 4 of those laws of money, they are not wealthy. Period. You show me somebody that doesn't invest and doesn't have a budget and tell me they're rich? Yeah, right. Show me somebody that's not generous and doesn't share the wealth and help other people succeed, and they live on more than they make it. They're not rich. Bah humbug. Show me. Give me one example. One. Well, actually, a counterpoint to that, I can think of one. Congress, but that's because they own the entire economy, right? Point being, anyone under the rule of law, not creating the rule of law, that does not follow those 4 laws of money, doesn't follow all 6 laws of money, does not get very far. And so I want to show you how to follow the laws of money to appreciate the returns that you're going to have in this market. I want to see you make a lot of money. So how are we going to do that? First and foremost, we're going to choose to be financially sovereign. I want you in control of your money. The way you do that, understand what Bitcoin is, why it's valuable. If you don't, sell your Bitcoin. Peace. In the next 48 hours, understand the Bitcoin white paper. Read it. Understand why it's worth $1.5 trillion. Understand why people are buying it. Do a little bit of research into the history. Figure out who Satoshi Nakamoto is. You don't know who he is, but figure out who he was, right? Learn a little bit about Bitcoin. And in the next 48 hours, build a decent understanding of Bitcoin or sell it. But Jeb, you said it's about to 50% increase. Yeah, sell it if you don't understand it. Sell it. Because generating wealth of any kind, financial wealth, relational wealth, spiritual wealth, familial wealth, it all starts with understanding. Proverbs 18:2. Just quoted here. My memory's failing me from all the sleep I've missed. But a fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. You want to discover your own heart by saying, my heart, here's what that means. You don't take interest in understanding things. You just want to show that you're awesome. Oh, I've got Bitcoin. I'm so cool. You want your heart to discover itself. Look, everybody, look at how wise I am. I bought Bitcoin. Look at how awesome I am. I bought Bitcoin. But a fool hath no delight in understanding. A fool hath no delight in understanding. That generally is talking about a conversation. Like you're talking to someone and a fool just runs his mouth and keeps talking and talking and talking and never shuts up to listen. Like when I go the entire stream and forget to read chat, right? That's me being a fool who has no delight in understanding. But it applies here too. It's the same principle. A fool has no delight in understanding. First things first, follow the laws of money. First law of money, choose to be financially sovereign. How do you be financially sovereign? You start with understanding, because understanding leads to wisdom. Without understanding, there cannot be any wisdom. Without knowledge, there cannot be understanding. Without understanding, there cannot be wisdom. So you must acquire the knowledge so that you can understand, so that you can be wise. If you do not understand what you're invested in from a principled standpoint, from a biblical standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, from a wisdom versus foolishness standpoint, sell it. And that principle is more important than Bitcoin. If you do not, cannot, will not, don't want to understand Bitcoin, sell it and don't put your money in something you don't understand. That being said, the far better choice is to spend the next 48 hours, pull an all-nighter, learn as much about it as you can so you know what the hell you're talking about, and hold on to your Bitcoin. I don't want you to sell it, but if you're going to refuse to understand it, I'd rather you not own it. Capiche? Okay, first and foremost, understand it. Secondly, to follow the laws of money with financial sovereignty, protect it. Wherever your Bitcoin is, it needs to be safe. There are hackers and thieves that are going to scam call you and say they're from Google and your password has been updated. You need to tell us your password so we can fix your account every single day. There are hackers and thieves, and there's chaos in this world. There are spiritual forces trying to wreck your freaking life. You've got to put the safeguards in place to make sure you don't lose your Bitcoin to a hacker or to a thief or to simply chaos. NordVPN, one of our sponsors, is going to help you to not get hacked and not have thieves break in and steal and take your Bitcoin so that you're no longer in control of it. That is being financially sovereign. Sign up for NordVPN with the link in the description box down below. Whether they're a sponsor or not, the same point applies. You've got to protect the Bitcoin. That's how you be sovereign over it. Third, to follow the law of money of financial sovereignty, you got to walk through the rest of the steps. What's the second step? Live on less than you make. If you are hemorrhaging money, you can only drive towards a cliff for so long until you fall off of it. You can only run at the fire so long until you get burned by it. You can only disobey God for so long before you wind up in hell. It's just a principle of the way the world works. You live on less than you make, or you pay. Unless you're Congress, in which case it can take 200, 300 years for it to catch up to them, but it will catch up to them eventually. Living on more than they make. It will catch up to them. Ballooning inflation, ballooning debt. We're seeing the consequences of even Congress, the most powerful company on planet Earth, most powerful organization on planet Earth, cannot get away from the law of money that you shall not spend more than you make and live to tell the tale without facing the consequences. Because you can only run towards a cliff for so long until you fall off of it. Congress thinks they are the one in the world that can do it and get away with it. And every single one of them that subscribes to that in that area is absolutely foolish. And I would say downright stupid. Or selfish, because they know the problem won't come up in their term. A fool hath no delight in understanding, but his heart may discover itself. You've got to understand Bitcoin. You've got to safeguard your Bitcoin. And you've also got to spend less than you make. 3, you got to have a plan. What's your plan? Here's how we plan for Bitcoin. What is our plan for investing in Bitcoin? We've got to plan 2 things. 1, how are we going to buy Bitcoin? 2, how are we going to sell it? We also need to have a plan for how we're going to set aside proceeds to pay taxes, but that's a second part. That's a sub point of how we sell it. How do we acquire it? The very first thing that we've got to do is actually put a plan in place for acquiring the Bitcoin. How do we do that? There's 2 ways. There's only 2 ways to acquire Bitcoin. And I recommend you do both of them. The first way is through intentional investment consistently. We call it DCA. You've heard it, dollar cost average. But I say it's disciplined and consistent acquisition. We do this with 2 steps. Step 1 and step 2. This is after you are out of debt, have a fully funded emergency fund, have a budget, and are putting money into the stock market also. Following the FinSolve way. That's unpopular in crypto. I don't care because it's right. Step 1. Every interval, I/we, depending on if we're married, will invest X into Y on Z. You've heard this many times. Every interval, I or we will invest X into Y on Z. I'm trying to be quick here, so I'm going to make this short. Every week, more specifically, every Tuesday at 3 p.m., every time I get a paycheck, every whatever interval, I, if you're single, we, if we're married, because when you said I do, it became y'all, not yours and hers or yours and his. It became y'all's, as we say in the South. That is the technical term. I'm dubbing it right now. Somebody wrote the dictionary. I'm going to write the dictionary on this one. Y'all's a word. I don't care what anybody says. I or y'all will invest, you or y'all, I or we, y'all will invest X into Y on Z. I'm going to invest $100 into Bitcoin on Coinbase. I'm going to invest $50 into Bitcoin on Crypto.com. I'm going to invest $75 into Bitcoin on Blowfin. Don't care how much. Don't care what interval. Don't care where you buy it. I do care that the Y is Bitcoin, that you start with Bitcoin. But other than that, do with it what you will. The purpose is not to fiddle with these variables, although that's important. The purpose is to have disciplined and consistent acquisition. Step 2, stack cash. Every interval, I/we will save X on Z. We skipped Y, right? Because we're not investing. Every interval, so every paycheck, I or we, you or y'all, technical term. Heard it here first, folks. Y'all's a word now. I'm going to popularize that. I or we, you or y'all, will save 1% of your 1% of your paycheck. $50 on Uphold's USD interest account, whatever. And so this is your, and this is all step 5. of FinSolve way. Sorry, Law 5. Law 5, save and invest. In this case, because we'd be doing this in step 9 of the FinSolve way, we actually switch them when we invest first, then we save because we already have our emergency fund. But this is the investment part of Law 5. This is the saving part of Law 5. We invest, and then we save so we can invest. And you're probably putting 80, 90% of it into step 1. You're probably putting 10 or 20% of it into step 2. But what you're doing is you're disciplined and consistently acquiring Bitcoin on a schedule because you wrote the plan and you're following the third law of money, which is have a plan for your money, whether it be a budget for your personal finances or whether it be a investment plan for investing in Law 5 of saving and invest for the future. Saving and investing for the future. And then step 2, you're saving on an interval in an account that's generating yield. And when Bitcoin eventually has a massive dump, you buy more. So you can get it on a discount. You hold it for years. And you just cycle the savings into the investment and like double the speed here. Basically what you would do is say, I've got savings. All right, cool. Instead of investing X, do a little math equation, we're going to invest X times 2. We're just going to double. Right? We're just going to double the amount that we invest this week because we're taking it out of the savings that we've saved up because Bitcoin is on a drop. See, and that's how we're going to lower our average cost basis. So what you would do is you just be consistently disciplining, DCAing all the way along here. And then when you see Bitcoin getting pretty low, you just like double, triple, quadruple the speed at which your dollar cost averaging down here on these lows. Not knowing where the bottom is, you don't care. You just do it until you drain a good bit of the savings. And then you end up lowering your average cost basis and sinking more Bitcoin into the market when it's lower. So that's how you plan for the acquisition. For the distribution, for the selling, you just flip the script and you do the exact opposite thing. You just did the first step in reverse. Every interval, I or we, you or y'all will divest X into Y on Z. Instead of investing dollars into Bitcoin, you are divesting Bitcoin into dollars and then just on the same platform, whatever platform you want to do. And you just flip that. And we even have it on this up here. Like the way you would do that is you set levels. You say, at this level, we're going to start divesting 1% of the portfolio. We're going to stop the investment. We're going to divest 1% of the portfolio every interval. At this level, we're going to divest 2% of the portfolio at every level. At this level, divest 4% of the portfolio at every level. At every interval, excuse me. At this level, we're going to divest 5% of the portfolio at every level. And what happens is you get in the habit of divesting before you hit the all-time high so that when you hit the all-time high, you're already in the process, you're already in the habit of selling, and you're able to increase the amount that you're selling, catching as much of the top as you possibly can. This system is designed to get you the lowest entry and the highest exit possible, and it will forevermore be the way that we teach. Maybe a few tweaks here and there if we learn more, but forevermore, this will be the way that we teach investment and divestment if you're trading in a cycle. If you're holding for the long term, then you just forget the divestment part and you just do the investment part and you just hold it for the long run. Okay? So that's pretty much what happens there. All right, let's read a little bit of chat. Rick4962, Yard Dog, out of my home state of Tennessee. So Jeb made me a millionaire in 5 years. Our Heavenly Father is the only way. Yard Dog, Rick, I appreciate the donation. I've got to rebuke you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. I've got to do it. I'm going to start some conflict right here with you, Rick. I'm going to do it. I didn't make you a millionaire, man. Stop. Appreciate it, but you're wrong. I didn't make you a millionaire. God gave me the words to speak to you, and you did the work. I gave you some advice, but you did it. God did it. I didn't do it. You did it. It's your job. It's yours. I appreciate the blessing. I appreciate the $100. I appreciate the favor. You did it, not me. Thank you so much. I appreciate the donation. Ray Meow said, Rick4962, if you're a millionaire, why not drop $500? Ray Meow, you must be new here because Rick has probably dropped $5,000 in super chats over the course of the last 3 years. That dude just every once in a while just shows up, drops. I think he has done a $500 donation before, actually. I won't say it because I'm not good, but I do know Rick's stage. He is a millionaire several times over. He's being humble. He is one of the richest people in this chat. He and I emailed back and forth, and again, privacy, but I will say this, he is extremely wealthy. He has done a very good job for himself. He has followed these laws of money. He has followed these steps to the T, and it has made him a case study in how to do exactly what we're teaching. Extremely proud of him, extremely happy for him, and God has blessed him richly because there is a because there, because of his faithfulness to God's teaching. That's why he's been blessed so much, because of his faithfulness to God's teaching. And that doesn't mean he's perfect, but that does mean he's done generally a much better job than he screwed up, which is the best that any of us can hope to do. Good job. Good job. All right, now, last couple things before we wrap it out here. We need to avoid debt. Don't buy Bitcoin on debt. I know there are some influencers, I won't say any names because I don't actually know if it's true, but I've heard that there are some influencers that are buying Bitcoin on debt. I'm just going to make this real brief. That's stupid. Don't do that. All right, moving on. Step 5, save and invest. If you don't save and invest, you won't have Bitcoin. I mean, come on, that's pretty simple. Step 6, be generous. When you make the money, like Rick did, be generous with it. He gave $100. Didn't have to do it. But you know what? He's sitting on the other side of his screen feeling real good for himself right now because he put work in. He said, I'm going to give Jeb $100 that I don't need to give him, but I'm going to do it anyway. Rick probably feels pretty happy right now because he was generous. So shout out to you, Rick. I appreciate that. And I love it when people donate. Thank you. Makes me feel good because I see generosity. Whether I'm the one receiving it or someone else, makes no difference to me. It makes me happy when I see people being generous and giving things that they don't need to do. Step number 6, be generous just because. Be generous because it does something with your soul. It does something to you because it's actually the chief purpose. There's a reason that I ordered the laws of money. They are in a specific order. There is nothing that I have put in the laws of money, in the financial sovereignty way, anywhere in there that is up to chance. I didn't just say, I don't know, I just do it in this order. Why not? No, there's an order. There's a reason that the 6 laws of money are financial sovereignty, live on less than you make, have a written plan for your money, get out of debt and stay out of debt, save and invest, and be radically generous. There's a reason that they're in that order. You start with FinSov. You walk through those 4 laws, then you get to the point where you're able to be radically generous. Because you have been faithful with money, you are able to be generous with more of it. And make no mistake, God loves a generous giver that gives 10 cents or $10 million. But you are able to physically have a bigger impact when you have more money. Poor people are not saving kids out of caves in Haiti because they can't even keep the lights on. Are they not generous? Of course they might be very generous. But they're not donating $10 million. They're not out there hiring 500 missionaries to go overseas. They can't do it. They can't afford it. It's not a knock. It's nothing wrong. I'm not in any way putting that down. Your level of wealth has absolutely nothing to do with your level of righteousness. But your level of impact does. Your level of impact does have something to do with how much money you have. Because you can just plain and simply have more impact if you have more money. The purpose of being financially sovereign is ultimately to be radically generous. It is not ultimately that you can seek ultimate fulfillment. Because I am interested in the long game, and the long game is you are on earth for this long, the tip of my fingernail. From here till Houston, Texas is eternity, and in that amount of time is where you're going to receive true blessings based on what you did in the length of time that is my fingernail. If you serve God, if you serve Jesus Christ. So please, do yourself a favor. Do the thing that is good to your soul and build wealth, yes, so you can enjoy it, and that's fine. But build wealth with the ultimate purpose of being generous and blessing others. And with that, I conclude exactly what you need to do to build wealth with this coming bull market on Bitcoin. You need to follow the laws of money. You need to do these exact steps. And do the proportion that you do them is the proportion with which you will succeed in the next 6 to 12 months. Your mission is clear. Accept it if you will, or don't, but live with your decision. If you choose not to make the most of this opportunity, then live with that decision and accept that it's what you did. Maybe you can't help it. Maybe you don't have any money. Maybe you're broke. Maybe you're working the FinSov way. Maybe you're trying to get out of debt. I get it. It's okay. There will be more opportunities. There will be a lot more opportunities. There's always ways to make money. People have built wealth in every single era of human history. There's always ways to make money. But whatever you do, live with the fact that you did it. Take responsibility for your own actions, and always remember that the most important determining factor in success in this life and in the next is a personal and daily walk with the Lord Jesus Christ, because that's what it's all about anyway. If you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I gotta go because I'm continuing to work on FinSov Academy. If you have not already signed up for NordVPN, links in the description. You should. Why? Because it's going to keep you safe, which is like one of the first things we teach in FinSov. Is not losing your butt to a thief. There is no better product on the market to do that than NordVPN. Sign up with the link in the description box down below or by going to nordvpn.com/Jeb. Also, if you have not already, make sure to sign up for Uphold, because Uphold has a lot of different products that are going to help you with this. Uphold's Vault is a great place to store your Bitcoin and your XRP and soon to be more cryptocurrencies. Uphold's vault is phenomenal. We've made videos on it. You can go back and watch our content on it, but it is the best place in crypto to store Bitcoin, where you have all the power of self-custody and all the power of being on a CEX. It's not on a centralized exchange, but it has instantaneous access to it while you keep your own coins, and you've got assisted key replacement in case you should lose a key. They've also got USD interest, which is the perfect place to store your cash. So Uphold has the perfect place to store your Bitcoin and the perfect place to store your cash, which means if you want to do this, follow Law 5, and invest and save, do the investment on Uphold, put the Bitcoin in Uphold Vault. Do the saving, put the saving into Uphold's USD interest, because it is the best place to store cash in the entire cryptocurrency space. What better can you do than that? Uphold slots in perfectly with all of our teaching. So make sure to sign up for Uphold and NordVPN with the links in the description box down below. You will be very much glad you did. If you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned, because more is coming. I am looking to launch the FinSolve Academy as soon as I possibly can, working hard on it. So stay tuned, because you guys are going to love it. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.